Can you hear me? Oh, yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this afternoon session. It's a bit of a special session because it's not the usual panel you're used to on the other pavilions. We designed this session as interactive as possible, and basically what we will do is that we will have 4 speakers that will join me on stage, present themselves, present what they do, their organization, and then after this time of presentation, we will just all go with the chairs, reorganizing the space, and launch one-to-one or small groups discussions, and it's an opportunity for networking and exchanging on water policies and water and finance issues. So without further ado, I will ask our first speakers to join me. It's Dr. Birgui Lamizana Diallo. She is a broad-based development professional with over 30 years working in the environmental services institutions, skilled in sustainable development, environmental issues, water quality, biodiversity, and also environmental impact assessment. She's a strong community and social services professional. Currently, Birgui leads the Sahel initiatives, the Great Green Wall Accelerator for the Sahara and the Sahel, as well as the MENA region at the Global Mechanism of UNCCD in Bonn. So, Birgui, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and good afternoon. When I see the last day of a COP like that, we know that we are all have like, we are still the resilient people. So many sessions has undergo, and we are just few days now and winding up. So this pavilion, I think, and the title of Water for Climate is very appealing. When we look at water and we talk about climate, or we talk about land or biodiversity, or even our life, nothing will happen without water. It's a connector. People say it's life. It is. But this is a substance or the resources which each human being will connect. When you wake up, the first thing you look is to have is water. Even if you are not drinking, at least to be able to talk to your neighbor. You need water, you touch water. So my name is Birgui Lamizana, and I have already been presented. What I maybe want to look, because I was sitting here and looking at the water pavilion made possible. I'm seeing GWP. I'm a former GWP officer for the world, the regional office for West Africa for more than 3 years, dealing with the partnership. And I'm seeing ISN, I'm a former ISN also. I see ADB, I'm a former IDB. So I think we are all connected here. So what I want maybe to talk about, as I'm asked, was about capacity building, South-South cooperation. And water can be a connector, as I said. It can be a link for cooperation. It can also be an ingredient for conflict if it's not well managed. So building the capacity about it, we need to see based on the needs and the context. Is it water are we doing with the small island development state? Are we doing with the countries which share resources? So transboundary water management. So training programs need to be tailored based on the context, based on what we need to have at the local, national, regional, and global level. We need also to see what is the demand, what is the gap we are feeling in terms of technical assistance. A technical assistant which is not imposed, but which is kind of filling a gap and welcomed by the people or the countries we seek to, as a water professional to help enhance the way they're managing. The second item, which is linked to that, is also the knowledge. Where do we have knowledge center? Where do we have knowledge hubs so that we can share it? Now, we are very lucky that we have technology everywhere, so we could have online, we could have what we call the MOOCs, we could have, access to knowledge and information sharing is made very easy nowadays. And we need maybe to take advantage on that, delving with when we come to the community level to peer-to-peer learning, or even the country-to-country sharing experience, so that it's not seen as a top-down, but it's as seen as, I have done it, I have lesson to learn, maybe I have succeeded, I have some failure, and all this will help the other to understand and see what I'm picking up, what am I trying to avoid. Partnership, and partnership is where it's very important. Partnership where not only water people talking to water people, but water people talking to the resources which are needed, agriculture people, finance people, infrastructure people. Because when we look into most needed countries, development countries, for example, the priorities are huge. And sometimes water, environment, or the soft skills are not the priority when it's come to budget allocation. So we need to talk to people and showcase that investing in environment, investing in water resources management, governance is something which will yield result and avoid some of the conflict, or even reduce the cost for investing in some heavy gray infrastructure, because then you could see how you can manage it through the natural-based solutions. The third, and I touched a bit about it, investment in technology. Technology needs to be tailored, and gender comes in here. Sometimes, what type of borehole, what type of irrigation, what type of infrastructure is needed based on vulnerability, based on the people who will be using it every time, based on the needs. So looking into the technology, but tailoring it to the needs so that it can be used. And it can't be just something which will draw a lot of investment and fund to just be looked at in the corner and not used. I have seen some villages where borehole has been set up, but people will leave the boreholes to go and look for ponds and wells, because they were not consulted of where the borehole need to be put into the village. So there are here communication, involvement and buy-in from the people we want, the beneficiary, I might say. The other thing we may need also to look into is how do we bring in the financial and technical partners, private sector, in the water domain, so that government can't do everything by themselves. We could mobilize investment from even within the country, so that you are not relying only on the forest investment. But private sector, if they see a return of investment, if the de-risking aspect is taken into account, they will be very easily happy to be in this space. The policy support governance framework, and most of the countries, I think, has this integrated water resources management, roadmap plans, and GWP has helped a lot of countries to have these IWRM plans. How can we make sure that it's not on our shoulders, but it's implemented, that it's followed through? Because it's a very comprehensive framework which can bring together from the normative aspect till the technical side. Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to touch base and see that emphasis again that the importance of community support and empowerment, so that everything which can have a sustainability. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you really much, Birgi. And yeah, I'm sure the audience here later, when we will have this one-to-one small group chat, will be really happy to take from you more of this knowledge on all those subjects. I'm calling now to the stage Pauline Trepsik. I hope I pronounce it correctly. Pauline is the communication and advocacy lead within the Systematic Observatory Financing Facility Secretariat. Prior to this, she has worked for the UK government, the UNFCCC COP26 presidency as climate change policy advisor. Pauline represented Austrian youth at COP23 to COP25. She also co-founded and led an NGO empowering and training Austrian youth within global climate diplomacy. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and also thanks for your intervention. I think you've mentioned a lot of very interesting points, and especially pointing at all these partners that are here. So first of all, I'm Pauline Trepsik, and sorry for my complicated name, and also our handful word of the Systematic Observations Financing Facility, short SOF. So first I would like to touch upon what SOF is, how we are connected to this topic of the Pavilion of Water, and then talk about a few examples. So SOF is a specialized UN climate fund, and we became operational only 1.5 years ago. And the aim is to close the basic weather and climate observations data gap. So far, SIDS, LDCs, and lower middle income countries only collect and share 7% of basic weather and climate data. The World Meteorological Organization members have agreed that a specific basic variable should be shared internationally. That is called the Global Basic Observing Network, short GBON. And SIDS and LDCs and LMICs only share 7% of those. And SOF wants to come in and support these countries to close this gap. And why are we doing this? Because that informs decision-making, that informs weather forecasts, and also, of course, any hazards that come from too much or too little water. And I think the connection to water, although we do not work specifically with water, I think it's important to mention that this is the very first beginning of the whole meteorological value chain. Unless you have good data, you cannot have a good weather forecast and so on, and that continues until early warning systems where this can save lives. So we are very aware that SOF alone cannot save lives, but we can support it in the long run. That's why we are partnering with 72 partners. Many of them are here. We have donor governments, we have multilateral development banks, UN organizations, major climate funds, so we can sustainably support countries in closing this data gap. We are doing this by providing long-term sustainable finance that is grant-based, and also working on a peer-to-peer approach in technical assistance. So we do not want to send a consultant that is one-off and then leaves, and then the stations are just not sustainably maintained. We want to work with national Met agencies that help other Met agencies to build long-term partnerships so we can sustain all the work that we are doing. One example is the Water at the Heart of Climate Action initiative by the Netherlands government. We are working with the International Federation of Red Cross Red Crescent, WMO, UNDRR, and also the Met agencies to help 4 specific countries to cover the whole value chain from coming from data. It's specifically about water for early warning systems. Another example is, for example, Maldives. So it's a very fast working country, and they're already in the second out of 3 phases only after 1.5 years of us being operational. And here UNDP is the implementing entity, and they are working to get funding from GCF. So whatever SOF is doing, the GCF proposal working with the country and GCF so that the rest of the value chain would be covered. And the third example I wanted to mention is Somalia, the country that we are working with, where we have a great south-to-south technical capacity building, where Nigeria is actually the peer advisor to the Somalia Med office. So we do not have only this one-off partnership, but also a south-to-south collaboration. And I think this is very unique about SOFT, that you have this peer approach and this long-term approach. And I think I'll stop here. But yeah, of course, if you have questions, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those words. Next up, I would welcome on stage Dr. Sarah Toussi. She's a water climate resilience specialist since 2022. She joined the global climate team of the Global Water Partnership, contributing to the coordination of GWP involvement on water and climate global processes. She also assisted countries in Africa and Asia, enhancing their readiness capacities to access the GCF climate finance. So, Sarah, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Geoffrey. And again, I'm glad to have a very gender-empowered panel today. Once more, this morning we had a full panel women also, so gender-empowered. Yes, we are winning the prize this year. And I'm also glad that this morning discussion, actually, where we were hearing from the country needs on the way they can enhance or scale up their investments on the water sector. We discussed a little bit the challenges, and you already offered indeed what can be done from international organization to overcome these challenges. And many has been said, first of all, about the data, the lack of data, and how this, first of all, prevent these countries from better planning their water management and formulate their needs. But not only that, because we know all that these data can connect to the to justifying the climate change and understanding better how this can be dealt with. Countries has also expressed how much it is needed to get this capacity building support in many aspects, because this climate change, of course, have been talking about it for many years now, but it's about how action and basically, and particularly for the water sector, how we can make and raise these investment. And we have heard already from the panel that countries were benefiting from this discussion, and actually Armenia was requesting, got inspired from Tanzanian colleagues on how they can establish a water fund. So I'm saying all this just to introduce that what I'm going to say is also relevant to the countries, because they expressed a big gap on on how to prepare good quality bankable projects. And actually what you have been saying also contributes in terms of how countries can get the data needed to prepare these projects, but also how they can get the technical support and the assistance and the knowledge improvement and enhancement to get these bankable projects. We have been, as GWP, working on this specific topic on how to support these countries to raise and to access the climate funds, and in particular to the Green Climate Fund. And the Green Climate Fund, at least to my knowledge, is the only and unique fund that of course, with all the complexities, always countries that complain that procedures are long, there is a specific requirement, but is the only fund that also offers to the countries the opportunity and grants to prepare, this is what they call the readiness window, to prepare good quality projects, to also prepare investment planning. So actually to get ready, as simple as that, to mobilize funds. And this window is of $1 million per each 1 year that can be provided to the countries. And now in the new strategy, it will be $4 million for the 4 years. As GCF it works, it has delivery partners, and GWP is an official delivery partner to GCF, and hence we can help countries to access to this readiness window so they can access and prepare good investment projects. And GWP has been already, is already working with 5 countries, Africa, but also Asia, one of them to prepare national adaptation plan, but others mainly, as I said, to with different objectives and goals and activities, preparing pipelines, preparing technical assessment that can help the country to identify also their priority, their vulnerability, doing a lot of capacity building, etc. And this portfolio is really being growing, and now we are in the pipeline of 2023, supporting the preparation of six project proposals. Some of them are multi-country proposal covering almost 20 countries around the world. And I'm happy, and I see already Geoffrey looking to his watch, and he's going to tell me this very nice sign that I need to stop. So let me stop before he tells me this. But I'm happy to share with you. We will be launching today, and if my colleagues in the IT part, can you show the website of, please? Yes, thank you. So actually, we are officially launching today our GWP GCF Readiness website, where we would like to make the opportunity. Sorry, I just need to move to see the screen. Can we have the website? It's coming? Yes, no worries. It's just to show a little bit what we are providing to the countries, also to be a platform where we can share some of the results of these projects, the technical assessment that we are providing, so it can help also the countries to see a little bit what kind of activities that they can also benefit from. If it's not coming, it's not a problem. We can show it later, but it's just to say, if you go to our site, gwp.org, and you do GCF readiness, then you will find our website. There is a lot of information. More is coming. Yes, so this is the website. Thank you very much. If you can get down, so we have a little bit of information of what we are doing, how this is working, etc. So you have also a presentation of our portfolio. If you can go, and we can see the map, and in the map is an interactive map. Of course, you can go, and if you are interested in any of the countries, you click and you have more information on what they are doing, and also useful information there. Results that we are having until now, as I said, if you can, so it's very diverse. Just to say to the countries that you have the opportunity to work on many aspects. Can we stop a little bit here? Just we can work on institutional and technical assessment. These are the results of what we are doing already with the 5 countries, so more is going to come. But also working on preparing the frameworks, policies and strategic frameworks that allow. A lot is doing, for example, and we heard about this this morning, and even now about this private sector participation. So how we can work with the private sector and how we prepare the needed frameworks. And one important, I think, activity that all countries are looking forward, but also GCF, is to prepare these concept notes, these good quality bankable projects. So this window allow countries to access this fund or this readiness window, allow countries to have the grant and the technical assistance to prepare bankable project. And I think this is very relevant. I mean, this is a request that was expressed so many times with the countries. And I will just mention the others. Gender mainstreaming, it's very important. So also we know how the people, they struggle, stakeholders, water stakeholders, they struggle on finding the way on how to gender mainstream in water policies, investments. So a lot is being done that also. And of course, capacity building and a knowledge and management platform. Please, a little bit further down, and yeah, I'm really done. It's just to say, okay, this is our resources, the latest updates, so the events happening, etc. And then you have down at the end how to engage with us if any support is needed from the countries. So I would finish here, and then, of course, I'm happy to exchange with you bilaterally later in the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, and also like Sarah, JWP GCF and FWP were partnering today to curate the events of the day. And Sarah has been really critical elements of the team, so I had to acknowledge that in front of you all, and thank you, Sarah. Next, I will call Marie-Sarah Bouloumou on stage. She is in charge of advocacy on water, sanitation, and hygiene at Islamic Relief France, a French emergency and development NGO operating in some 15 countries worldwide. She works especially on issues linked to global water governance, human rights-based approach, food security, climate, and achievement of SDG 6. Marie-Sarah, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Geoffrey. So as Geoffrey said, as a water, hygiene and sanitation, I'm going to say WASH now, advocacy officer of the Secours Islamique France, a French NGO. I'm here at this pavilion with great honor, and I especially thank the French Water Pavilion for the invitation. And I'm also very glad of this very qualified and soulful women panel, and sad to be still astonished of that during this COP. But I was asked to present the disaster and the humanitarian support. So our goal is to address urgent needs and drive positive change during crisis. So urgent action is required, and public funding for WASH must significantly increase to aid vulnerable population. Currently, the humanitarian sector effort in WASH failed to meet humanitarian needs for various reasons, including the lack of stakeholder capacity and the chronic lack of funding. I want to shed light on sanitation especially because it's often neglected, but requiring specific attention to achieve universal access by 2030. Global public and external spending on the sanitation is generally half of that allocated to clean water. And financing is to the humanitarian sector what civil society is to COP. Absolutely indispensable and life-changing, yet insufficient, despite states asserting that they are already making significant efforts. In crisis, swift and effective responses, particularly in WASH, hinge on the mobilization of state funding. I'll illustrate state funding mechanism using, for obvious reasons, France as an example. International mechanisms like the UN Central Emergency Response Fund and direct bilateral assistance are available for states. National financial mechanisms exist also, and multilateral cooperation, exemplified, for example, by the Euro Humanitarian Aid Programme, ECHO, is crucial to rapidly finance humanitarian emergency action in crisis situations. And government can engage the private sector for additional resources. That being said, monitoring and evaluation are vital for transparent and efficient fund utilization. WASH needs include infrastructure and construction and rehabilitation, but must be adapted to local context and accessible to the most vulnerable people. And support also for innovation from local knowledge. Funds should be allocated for training, awareness program, and proper facility utilization. Despite effective state financing mechanism in humanitarian emergency, administrative delays and unpredictable funding remain a critical issue in emergency situation, where intervention speed is essential, depending on political decision and budget availability and economic conditions. So coordination issues, budget constraints, and transparency concerns persist. Political influence and dependence on donations can hinder long-term continuity. We also advocate for debt management mechanisms that do not hinder countries' capacity to invest in vital water-related infrastructure. And the coordination between national and international actors can be complex, leading to duplication of efforts, delays, and inefficient resource utilization. Governments may face competing priorities, affecting the availability of funds for specific sectors in need, like food, shelter, security, health, and education. That's why it's important to break down the silos between sectors and work in a nexus or in a holistic manner. The complexity of humanitarian crises, including prolonged conflicts, can make planning and effective implementation of intervention challenging. Despite the availability of funds, and it is the most vulnerable people who always are the more impact. Some funds may be reactive to natural disaster rather than preventive, and it's really a big problem because it's limiting the capacity to anticipate and mitigate the effects of crises. Understanding this limitation is crucial to improving financing mechanism and strengthening the resilience of humanitarian systems in the face of emergencies. NGOs contribute by building capacity, sharing knowledge, and advocating for increased finance flow. We collaborate with governments, international partners, and local communities to identify and leverage funding opportunities. We encourage countries to actively participate in international platforms, engage with development banks, and explore public-private partnership as mechanism to enhance financial support. And I will quickly present also an initiative by the Advocacy for WASH of the WASH Roadmap, who developed a call to action for survival and resilient WASH around the conference in March, exactly, of the water conference. So the French Water Partnership and the Action Against Hunger were co-leads of this initiative, and we are signatory, along with 186 other organizations, countries, institutes, companies, networks, like France and maybe countries and maybe your countries. The call was on government to champion this roadmap and make commitments to take concrete action to strengthen the WASH sector in fragile conflict and violent context. So I look forward to speak with you about this initiative and the finance of humanitarian sector, answer your hypothetical questions, and learning from your experience and perspective. So please free to join after the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marie-Sara. I think we have here today in this panel like four really different profiles, four really different fields and views, and it shows also that water is across cutting issues, not only for development but also in emergency context. So I think it's a good illustration of what water can be and what water is in our society. And now maybe we have time for, if you want, one or two questions general, and then we can break down into groups, and you can directly solicitate our speakers. So do you have any questions? Yes, sir.
Is it working? Yeah. Yeah, I'm Benjamin from Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, and I'm from private sector, working in water and agriculture also. Yeah, it's a general question, and any one of you can respond on it. And my main question is at the international level. Me as one of the champion working in that side in a local level, it's really hard to connect from national NGO or private sector with those international funds. At your high level, what are you doing to make sure that any partnership with countries or any organization that you partner with them, those funds attain the local level? That's the first general question. And second, it's about the ensuring that the impact of that is really in the field, because we've been seeing that from, I'm a village man. I used to go to deep in village and IDP camp to work with them in WASH sector. And we've seen that the work some of the international agencies are doing in country, it's very, what can I say? I say it's from France. C'est trop, ce n'est pas durable. So it's not sustainable. After 2 or 3 months, it's not working. And I've been getting so many people from my community saying this international NGO came, they drilled boreholes, and the water just did 3 weeks or 3 months, and nothing as maintenance plan and anything. And I went to some of the offices. They said, man, we are here for emergency project. It's 3 months, no fund to repair whatever. And we feel so sorry to see that you came to help, but there is not a follow-up plan. And it's billions and billions dollars you are hearing on the news that this NGO has been investing in your country. So at your high level, how can you make sure that you regulate those kind of questions or complicated things? Because sometimes we feel like we are not helped when we are not, we want to work, but the capacity building maybe is not there. And those who are in country, they feel like you are very small, we can't cooperate with you. And those are the challenge that we are really going through it, in the field. Thank you so much.
So who wants to answer? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. 2 questions here, but maybe it's all linked to kind of ownership and consultation before any projects, I might say. But let me refer to the IWRM again, the Integrated Water Resources Management. I know that in Africa, even in Central Africa, they were, at that time, most of the countries have what they call the Integrated Water Resources Management plan and route map, included your country. And it's triggered down not only at the national level, but it's also kind of help the communities to be engaged and to create, I will say it in French, what they call like les clés, les comités locaux de l'eau. And when they have this, even you are talking about borehole breaking down, they were kind of ownership, because we cannot, as a country which also is looking for fund, it's why I refer on one we are talking earlier on, we seek for help, but we have also to do something. Comme on dit, quand on te lave le dos, il faut te laver le ventre. Et when some of the communities, the local communities, the very small structure on water management, it's where, for example, the training, the capacity building, for at least maintaining the borehole. I have seen some borehole, it's just like one piece, which is not even cost than 1,000 francs CFA. But because of that, people can't have access to water. So I think it has to be both sides. There's so much the international community can do, but they can't do everything for us. At the community level also, you have to organize and try to come. And it's where also the private sector have a role to play. A role to play in the terms of engaging with them, knowing that in these communities, when they engage, you are the one who, for example, will train them to repair. You are the one, for example, maybe who will give them the spare pieces to replace the boreholes or even the irrigation schemes. So it's both sides. Now, the other question, and then I will leave it, is you say on the international communities also, how do we make sure that the fund is trickling down? I'm right now working at the UNCCD, which is a convention, the Convention to Combat Desertification. And it's a convention about land and water, dealing with desertification and drought. But and we think that supporting the country, as we give one example of the Great Green Wall, which you might have heard about it. It's a Pan-African initiative, but what we realize is that the silo approach is everywhere. And to make sure that, for example, the intersectoral ministers are talking to each other, we try to help the countries to create what we say the national coalitions, where you have technical and financial partners, you have NGOs, you have private sector, you have the other different ministers, so that they can talk to each other. Because if they can talk to each other and the communities, at least the traditional leaders, or even the local mayor, district mayor, is part of the conversation, they will be part also of the decision on which project, how to implement, how to manage, so that it won't only be kind of hanging over here, but it's also trickling down to the ground. I stop here.
Yes, please.
I think you've raised very valuable points. So from SOF, although we're not directly engaged with WASH, but generally how we approach this, I think is quite unique. On the one hand, that countries, and we also call it the readiness phase, the first phase, countries tell us what they need, and then they get grant-based finance for it. And we encourage them to consider gender, but also public-private partnerships. So we don't tell them what to do. Countries tell us what they need, and we give the money back for it. So I think it is good that then, based on the country's needs, it will be decided how this should be approached. And what we then do in the Secretariat is, while quite literally, because it happened over the summer, we already are working with 60 countries. While the countries were getting out of the readiness phase and already moved into the second, the investment phase, the Secretariat worked on a collaboration framework with the Green Climate Fund, Climate Investment Funds, GEF, Adaptation Fund, and CRUISE, to sign a collaboration that we want to encourage the other funds to build on whatever SOF is doing, because we are aware that we cannot solve everything on our own. We need collaboration so that the other funds are coming in, acknowledge what SOF has done, that they build on it to work on all the other sections. And yeah, we signed this framework just a few days ago, and I hope that this will bring out more projects, more funds, and make it a bit easier, that we do not work in parallel and in silos, but we know what else is happening. That's it for me.
Thank you very much. Mon frère, as on dit, what hard question you asked and you raised. First of all, I'm happy that you are representing the private sector here. It's already a big achievement, because we always talk about private sector. Very rarely we have them in the room and asking these very straightforward questions to us, and these very hard questions. A lot has been said already by my colleagues, but let me come back to 2 points. First of all, what you are raising is an old new questions. Like, we have been all the time struggling on making the development aid in general, and more these climate finance aid, because it's affecting, we know, the vulnerable people. So how to make it efficient, how to make it reaching those who are in need of it, and that is in alignment with their needs, and also how to make it sustainable. That's really a daily struggle of the development aid. So we are coming with, or the community, the global community, is trying to come with solution. And already Birgit said about these stakeholders mobilization. This is one of the criteria. None of the donors now will give you money without requiring this, but still, are we doing it well? Is it really done under, are we getting what we should be getting out of it? Definitely there is still more to be done. Also, sustainability criteria. I was talking about the readiness and why we come to help countries to do the good quality project. It's basically because GCF is imposing criteria one of them is the sustainability. One of them is the ownership by the country. One of them is all these stakeholders' engagement. So yes, this is there, but again, are we doing it right? How we can do it better, actually? So there are, if I may say, we are. I mean, global. I mean, you said what we are doing. Us as organizations, or basically donors mainly, they are trying, and all these criteria, I think, they make the processes long, but they should improve the efficiency of the process. So at the same time, we see countries complaining that this is complex, it's taking time, but indeed it is also to reply to what you are saying. It's hard. We are not doing it well, definitely, but as I said, we are trying. But one of the things that at least I have been working, and I myself, I come from Tunisia, so I know how it is hard to connect, as you said, the local level with the national level and doing this vertical communication. It's very difficult, even without development aid. And it's not only on the developing countries, by the way, it's everywhere. You always go and you feel like there is disconnection between the national strategy, what the central level is preparing for what is requested by the local population. This is, again, it's a new old struggle, right? I mean, I think you agree with me on that. How to improve, I mean, add to this the international development aid, how to improve it. There are many ways of trying to do it, and I just want to talk about what we were discussing in another panel a few days ago, actually, discussing this community of practice that is developed jointly by UNCCD and GWP around drought management. And drought is actually how to fight droughts. And one of the things that I said, and I truly believe on it, that these informal platforms, these kind of drought community of practices, they offer the chance to the different stakeholders, to the local population, etc., to have the same voice as, because when we are informally, we can discuss in a more comfortable way. So to express your needs and to be in contact with those who can provide it. And I think this is, so we are discussing like community of practice is important for knowledge sharing, peer-to-peer learning. But I said, no, it's not only about this. It's really to help in this vertical coordination and communication. And I think we need to do more of this. We need really to have it like in the easiest way also that can allow the local population to come in, because we do not want to have it only about those who have the facilities to connect and to talk about it. So it's a lot on that that needs to be made. I will again stop here, but I can only say that you are absolutely right, and we need to continue working on this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for this question. And as my colleague said, it's a very old question and issues, especially in the humanitarian sector, because since the beginning there has been an opposition between the humanitarian aid and the development aid. So the humanitarian aid is for a crisis situation, or in the development it's for long-term things. But the fund that I presented before is just for a crisis situation. So the fund who are allowing are just for like 6 months or 1 year. So you, as you said, you can't think about the sustainability of the project or the long-term things. And now, especially because of climate crisis, the crisis has just repeatedly and the long-term ones. So it's very big issues, and we are working on and trying to advocate about that. And this is one of our recommendations, that the humanitarian support is a more long-term one than a short-term one. But this is also, I think, a new paradigm in the humanitarian sector. Is that before we were more working on the needs and doing like just a needs approach, and now we are something which is called the human rights-based approach, and now we don't deliver needs and just like give water and stuff, we try to think more about changing the origin of the inequalities, of the origin of the crisis, and to think about the long term As my colleague said, for example, like in my NGO, Secours Islamique France, in the countries we dig boreholes for water, but we just don't dig this. We also organize management coordination groups and doing building capacity, like doing sensibilization and formation to know how to, as you said, to repair the boreholes and especially, and this is where there is a link with, for example, the gender mainstreaming, as you said, is that all these groups are often like a women's group, and it's very important for the empowerment and this. And I just wanted to, I forgot. Yes, and what is very important is that also there is a big like concept in the humanitarian sector. It's do no harm. It's the thing that the aid we deliver is a help and an aid, and should not make more damage than it is. And what you said about sustainability is a very important thing. Is about that the aid we deliver should be a long-term one and should be transforming really the situation of the people, and especially the most vulnerable one, so that the situation change for real, and not that the crisis should repeat and stuff. And in the project form, it's something that is really asked, that you have to think about how what would it be if the NGO is out of the country, or if you have to stop the project quickly. So this is something that you have to think about at the beginning, but it's in theory. In reality, it's not always it. And for the do no harm, I will just add something more, is that the NGO now are also thinking about to be more sustainably okay, like doing having environmental thank you, safeguards, and to think about the impact on environmental and climate during their interventions.
Thank you so much for the question. It was a good one. How can we bridge local and global and local, and how can action at all levels beneficiate people eventually on the field? So thank you for this question. Maybe now we can have 10 to 15 minute dialogue between you guys in the audience and our speakers. I heard Sarah said that informal settings are good for exchange of views. So this is it. This is an informal settings between you and them, and please ask them whatever you want, and we're happy to exchange with you. Thank you.